My name is Eric Foss. I'm the co-founder of Secret Stash Records. Right now we're working on reissuing a Mexican funk rock psych record circa 1971 by a band called Grupo Oz. The name of the album is Miss Thing. Grupo Oz was just a bunch of studio musicians in Mexico City that got together and decided to try something a little different. It didn't really take off, unfortunately. The same year they got together, they put out their one and only LP. Kind of flopped. Our research has shown that there was anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 units that were released. It was released in Mexico. They also had a version released in Spain that had different artwork but the same music. And a lot of those records ended up in the United States. You can find them in Texas and different parts of the South still.
I'm Justin Salinas from Hot Pants, Minneapolis, Rare Funk and Soul, and that's me, I guess. I don't know. I really dig the Grupo Oz record. It's interesting. It's got a lot of, influence. I didn't see as much influence in, like, the horns and everything are super funky and everything is like, the beats are great, but I wasn't like Texas mariachi influence. It's like this other crazy, like really good, there's sharp horns like that, but they're almost a little different. And I like that, and the fact that it's kind of rock. It's a really solid rock and fuzz and wah, and that's good stuff. It's a good record.
I'm DJ Miguel Vargas, one half of Radio Pocho. We are kind of a DJ duo along with DJ Ren, aka Steven Renderos, and we have a radio show on KFAI, Twin Cities, called Radio Pocho. You know, when I was listening to the Grupo Oz record, you know, it kind of reminded me about, and I'm just kind of learning this too recently, but that especially in Latin America, you know, there were groups, you know, who were from different countries, Mexico, Argentina, and some of these groups would actually record their songs in English. And I'm not quite sure why they would do that. I mean, it could be, you know, huge international crossover attempt as well. But I can't say those records were successful here in the States because, you know, it's a whole different it's a whole different case of wrong there. And those singles became big all over Latin America, except the US, of course. And, you know, Latinos, they love soul music, and so they're very driven to kind of either emulate, you know, the black sound if they can, so they can do well for black audiences. And eventually, later in the 70s, that's when they would kind of, you know, syncretely kind of mix together. Before, you know, the genres were kind of separate. We'll do a bolero number, we'll do a funk number, and then we'll do a rock number. But now all of a sudden, you know, they were really mixing them all into one, you know, on one recording.
Miss Thing was released on the Discos RAF label. It's a fairly successful, I would say, independent label from Mexico City. They had a lot of really huge pop acts and some things that did really well, and they had some other really cool, kind of gritty, funky stuff. Most notably, probably La Cosa Nostra, which is a very collectible LP. We discovered the Grupo Oz record while we were in Lima, Peru, recording Afro-Peruvian music for the album we put out called Peña. While we were down there, I was fortunate enough to meet a guy at one of the local record labels who offered to take me shopping for used vinyl. And obviously, you know, being down there to record Peruvian music and being in Lima, we were most interested in finding Peruvian music. But we ended up finding a whole bunch of really cool stuff from Mexico, and this record just happened to be one of those albums that we found that day. What really drew me in to this record is the kind of mix of psych rock and funk. It's really gritty, really dirty. Some of it reminds me of some of the Westbound stuff coming out of Detroit in the 70s. Just has this really, really rough feel to it, and it's really funky and dirty. Some of the songs, they're like so funky you just feel like you need to take a cold shower after you listen to them. They're pretty nasty.